the letters used to be very particular. They would be written by email. So I would ask them, have you received a letter written par avion or by email? So I would show off with these letters to my friends. And he would send photos. So I got to see him in the photos. The one I saw when I was young, about 2 or 3 times. So in the photos it was very clear. And then in '92, he came back from exile. I was doing matric then. He came to see us, and it was a very happy moment for the family. And then in '94, he took me in. We lived in Mariston Hotel, I think it's in Jubet Park, at 2504. I think Upramingos told me he knows the flat. It was very high. When I first moved in there, I could not even go to the balcony because I would just, I was afraid of heights. But for a few weeks, I couldn't go there, but after a month or so, I started being comfortable with the balcony. And I remember standing there one day after the 1994 elections on the balcony. I was alone most of the time because he was never home. Standing there in the balcony and watching people marching from, I think, the side of Yeoville and Hillbrook, coming down Claim Street, going into town after the election results were announced. It was a very proud moment. But I must tell you, he was not there. I was alone at the time. He was busy doing politics. So I'm trying to say, at that time we never... Long live.
Program Director, first and foremost, Ms. Kosato, would like to apologize.
Why did you?
Okay, for a moment there, I thought I was being called to order. Okay, I'm about to finish. And then I think okay, he took me in '94. He paid for my studies at Benham. I lived in Jubet Park with him, and then I would walk to Benham, and I worked for Circuit Trust at the time. And then in '95, we moved to Rosettenville, Lape Albert Street. We stayed there. A lot of other nieces and nephews also came to live with him. Even some of our friends. There's a guy I was talking to yesterday. I even sent him the link for the memorial service. He lived with us, Umahlomula. He was my other nephew's friend. That's how generous uncle was. So he accommodated his nephews and the nephew's friend in his flat. And later, I think it was in '97, then we moved here to Cde Thamsanqa. And what then happened is that once we moved here, he took my other siblings in. We were 5 ekaya. So it was me and my other 2 younger brothers, my younger sister. We all lived here. He basically took my mom's family in. He was very close to my mom, by the way. If my mom was to complain about anything, I knew we were going to be in trouble. She was not supposed to complain about anything. Even here, like plotting, I'm sure comrades will know there will always be Umchana. There would always be someone that he lived with. The driver's license, I got it here. I was talking to Bob Eric Lamin earlier today, asking him, where is Eric Mklaban? Because I used the motor Eric to go and get his driver's license. And in 2003, when my younger sister passed on, I had barely started working. And you know, when you start working, you do policies. That you look at policies. When you do policies, you look at the weak part of people in the family. I had put my mom and my other younger brother on my way to, and an unlikely thing happened. My sister passed on, so it had to be a cash funeral. I was in trouble, so 80% of that funeral, he covered it. So in short, ifamily kaMgqwashu silahlekelwe kakhulu. Everyone who is in the Mali family and the sisters that got married to other families, they all have stories to tell. Particularly his sisters, they never struggled. They knew that when they called him, he would come running and rescue them. So Tinas Nabachana, like I'm saying, I'm representing all his nephews and nieces. He had very radical views about everything, starting from religion. You know, I was thinking, Mfundisi xa ethandaza, ukuthi hey, I know Mfundisi uthe commander will be angry when we sing Nkosi Sikelela the way we sang it, but equally would be unhappy, you know, if this is Jesus, because he had serious issues. If you knew him. And he was unapologetic. He was unapologetic about it. When he stood on something, he stood firm. He did not care who came with him, which is what I liked about him. I don't like timidity. You know, when you disagree, you must disagree, and when you agree, you must agree. That's one trait that I really wish that all of us had. And then he got sick earlier this year, and he went to hospital. I came to see him. I work very far. I work in Cape Town. So I then came to see him. I spent quality time with him. I was happy because I had not seen him in a long time. And then he then went back to hospital. That was the last time we saw him. And Malume told me that he succumbed to cancer of the liver. Yeah, so silahlekelwe siyifamily kaMgqwashu. He has left a big gap in our family, and siyabulela ubukho benu. Ndithi futhi ke ndithi nakuni duduzekani ma comrade, asilahlekelwanga sodwa, siyazi ba beniphila naye. Ndiyabulela.
Okay, comrades, because time is against us, I will just try to rush into the program. I would also like to call the son, Mr. Cde Mali, to come forward.
Sanibonani. Mina nguKholisile Mali. Uthami Mali was my father. I stand here before all of you guys today as a proud son. I've heard stories about my dad. You know, most of the stuff that he did before I was born. He did a lot of great things also after I was born, you know. And he had always told me stories about his past, you know, every now and then. But I don't think he told me like the full stories of everything he did, you know, because I think he was maybe afraid to let me know the other side, you know, of maybe his time in exile and all of that. But over the years, I've read stories from different people. Since he passed on, I've seen people post and all the writings and all of that. And you know, like I said before, he had told me stories as well now, you know, and I was already a proud son then. You know, I already had like an idea of the stature of the man he was, I guess. You know, and it's not until he recently passed on, unfortunately, that I am really only now slowly starting to understand just how much of the stature of a man he was, you know. And like I said, I am standing here in front of you as a very proud son. But it's not only that I am a proud son, but now I can see just how much of a stature of a man he was, you know. I've been a proud son for a while, you know. I even named my son after him, you know. I named my son Nome Mali after I had like learned how much of a man he was, because I couldn't let myself not have his name live on, you know. Which is why I named my son Nome Mali, because I wanted his name to live on because of the greatness of the man that he was, as I've been learning over the years, and as I am still learning. And I am sure there's still more stories that I'm still going to hear. There's still more stuff I still don't know that I will still get to know, you know. But all in all, I am deeply saddened, obviously, by his passing. And things will never ever be the same, ever, because he's the only parent I had left. And now I only have my brother. Like I was telling him, Uguti, I don't know where I go from here, you know, because my dad was my everything, you know. He was there all the time, whatever I needed, anything. You know, I've heard stories of how he was a disciplinarian, how a wrong was a wrong, a right was a right, and all of those things. But that's not the Thamsanqa Mali I know. You know, me, the Thamsanqa Mali I know personally was a softie. You know, me on my side, with my dad, I could probably get away with anything. You know. So when I heard the stories about him being a disciplinarian and all of that, I was shocked, you know, because I did not know that side of him, you know. I remember they told me Uti, when it comes to schooling stuff and everything, he was very strict, especially with school stuff. So, because I remember there was a story that my mom told me about my brother here and Uchabu. I think they did something at school, you know, and I don't know, I think they were fighting or they stole or something like that, and then they came back home and he gave them a hiding of a lifetime, you know. And I was shocked even then, because me, I'm 24 years old now, and my dad has never even raised a hand. I got sunshine, I got one, you know. So when I heard that story, I was shocked. That cannot be him, you know. So I remember when I got to grade 10, and then, you know, boys, being naughty, I bunked school, you know. And then, I was at a friend's house. My dad called me. He said, Bazonglanda. And then one of his friends came to fetch me by my friend's house when I was supposed to be at school. And and then I thought, okay, no, today is the day. Today is the day I'm gonna kill it. You know, I came back home expecting a hiding. I'm already preparing myself. I got home. I'm like, hey, Boba. And then when he said, hi, son. No, it's fine, you can go. You know, so yeah, that is the man that he was. He was a a softie as a dad, I guess, if I can say. You know, I guess I was like, if I can say that, you know. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming and being here to honor my dad. And I would like to let you all know that I am a very proud son standing here in front of you. And yeah, okay.
Hi everyone. My name is Tsepo Mshaba. I'd like to consider myself as Tammy's first son. Although I'm not his biological son, but I guess family is not only blood. You know, I met Tammy when I was, I think, in grade 3, when he met my mother. He was still in District 9 as a district director. I remember I moved from Mayfair Convent when I lived with Tammy, and then we moved here, as Butspoon said, in '97. We went to Elo Ridge. Tammy is one man who had the most impact in my life. And I don't think there's anyone who's ever come across Tammy and has never impacted them in their lives in some way or another. I know a lot of his friends that would come here. I mean, like I said, I knew this man from when I was a baby. You know, I was the first person to call him Ubaba. You know, and he was a good father at that. Kolisile is like him, because as he says, he got Tammy as a softie. Tina gets him Tole when he was at his peak. You know, when I moved here, Mama wait, Miss Tolindu every time. You know, he was one man who was very passionate about his job. He was very passionate about his struggle. He was passionate about his organization. Koli's right. A wrong was a wrong. A right was a right. There was no gray areas when it came to Tam. You know, he taught me a lot of things that I know in my life that today that I've implemented in my life, and I'm a man that I am today because of the role that he's played in my life. He gave me a platform in life. He put me through school. Tammy paid for my education, from primary school all the way to high school. You know, even after high school, he was there. He loved me, he took care of me as a son. And you know, I remember the story that he's talking about. Actually, that day we didn't steal anything. We didn't wake up. We were in Queen's High, and we were in boarding school, no job. And we decided to sleep in when everybody went to school. And then we woke up. We were woken up by a knock. And a friend of his, Batucho. Yo, that day we got a beating. It was a crazy one. I remember. We came back home. We got another beating again for the very same thing. You know, I remember in Nobab Mandla as well. Nobab Mandla manje, Kolisul Batola Bansabakatele, they're old now. You know, Nobab Mandla, I'm saying, I'm paying manje, Katel and the stick side. You know. But then, you know, literally, we were, you know, I was raised by a soldier. You know, when they say you were raised by a soldier, Ubaba was a commander, and a commander in blood. I don't think there's anything else he could have been in life but that, because he did it so well, you know. But I'd like to thank him for the presence that he implemented in my life. There's so much I'm grateful for. Like I said, he gave me a platform, he gave me a future. You know, I'm the man that I am today, as I still say, because he played a huge role in my life, you know, and I'm sure in a lot of people's lives that he changed and he touched. So it's true that we have all lost, you know, a father, not to just me and my brother, but to a lot of people here, you know. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for the support. And I thank him for his life, and I hope we'll celebrate it. And most of all, I thank him for my brother, because he left me with something that yeah, will always be there for me. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. As I said before, we are running very, very late. I will quickly go to the next speaker. That will be Comrade Thamsanqa Mali. Comrade Thami. Comrade Frank.
Amanda. Viva ANC, viva. Viva ANC, viva. Viva COSAS, viva. Viva ANC Youth League, viva. Viva the South African Communist Party, viva. Amanda. Comrades, I'm told I need to be very brief. And I'm going to try to be very, very brief. Ngibulisa wonke ama-comrades awakhona, leadership from the provincial leadership. I saw the provincial secretary. I saw the deputy chairperson of the ANC is around. And all other structures that are here, let me just conclude by saying all protocol observed. I have seen also my former colleagues at education, former colleagues at transport, and yeah, all other friends that I know from different places. Ngoba kuthiwe ngingakhuluma isikhathi eside, ngicabanga ukuthi ngingasayifundi lento bengiyibhalile ngokomanda. Ngoba mangathi ngiyayifunda izongithatha isikhathi. Kodwa ke ngisaba ukusho ukuthi in 1997, as I went to the Gauteng provincial legislature on behalf of a student movement called COSAS in Gauteng, I went to present around issues of the South African Schools Act and the Gauteng Schools Act, the impact of its implementation, the impact of its role and transformation of education in general in the country. After the presentation, I was approached by a tall, dark man. I didn't know Ubabu Mali by then. He came to me and greeted me and said, I really appreciate your input that you made here in this forum and the manner in which you responded to the questions that were posed to you. The sitting was attended by various student organizations, teachers organizations, including the Association of School Governing Body. By then we only had the Association for White Schools, which was FEDSAS. He then proceeded by saying, can I have your contact details? I was so surprised why he wanted my contact details, because we didn't know each other. He introduced himself to me and I introduced myself to him at that moment. I gave him my contact details. 1998, around month end April or the 1st of May, around there, I received a call from his office. The call was saying that Ubabu Mali wanted to meet with me. However, at that moment, I was injured because I was involved in a car accident with other comrades from COSAS. And unfortunately, in that accident, one of the leadership of COSAS in Gauteng had passed on. So I couldn't walk properly. I then responded to him to say, I am unable to come to your office because I am injured and I'm still trying to recover from the accident. He then said to me, no. This meeting must go on tomorrow without fail. Give me your address. I became cautious, but I didn't have a problem. I gave him my address, and he then said, tomorrow at 11 o'clock, you must be ready. I will send for you, someone will come and fetch you. Then I said, no, it's fine. Indeed, the following day, a car was there around 11. I was fetched. I remember my mom took me to the car because I was still limping and made sure that they take the details of the person who was fetching me and the like. Around 11:45, we were at the district office. I think he had some meetings then because I was told just to sit and wait for him by the reception. 12 o'clock exactly, he said the meeting would be at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock exactly, he sent and I was called to his office. Few words, we're going to have a very short meeting. I have identified a role that I think you can play in the district based on your understanding of education policies and the like. Would you mind to join the department? Before I could respond, he further said, I was not given a chance even to think about it. In fact, he further said to me, before I could respond, while I was trying to think, he further said, he said, I identified a position in the district. Do you want to join the department? How about to join the department? Are you employed? I said, no. Immediately when I was trying to think and respond, he then said, no, but the meeting is closed. Go home, recover, but someone will come and take your documents. And it was history. I immediately joined the department through that process. While I just joined the department, I was put in a section called school governance. I remember in that section, there was Ubabu Dlamini, Ubabu Eric Dlamini, and other colleagues. Within a short space of time, after I joined the department, the chief started having targets for me. I'm still young, I'm confused, I'm trying to find myself in the department. The first target was that you must have a license in 3 months. Because I didn't have a license at that moment. In 3 months, you must have a license. I ensured. He will ask me every time when he meets me around the office, how far are you with your license? What is happening? Blah, 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 blah. Then I got the license and started driving or working or doing all the works for the department. The second target, in 2 years' time, he said to me, Thamsanqa Mali, ngiyazi uhlala nabazali and you have a home and you are fine at home. But I want you to invest in a property. You must have a house. Even if you don't stay there, you can lease it out while you're still staying with your parents, but you must buy a house. I saw that I don't have a chance. I was also given time frame that I must do that. I had to meet it. That is the short story about me joining the department. But then, when we started working, going out to schools, going out to stakeholder meetings where he will be addressing and meeting stakeholders, he will have a funny way of introducing me in that meetings. For instance, I remember in one meeting of the Johannesburg Central schools, where it was almost Indian and former Model C schools, one principal asked a question. It was around the South African Schools Act and the establishment of school governing board, to say, why do you insist that learners must be represented in the school governing board? Instead of him answering the question, he just said, I think the young lion in the district will be able to answer that question through the police. And he then said, Thamsanqa Mali, just like that. I was not even prepared or ready to answer the question, but I had to answer the question and do it within the framework of the law. Mr. Mali will empower us in the district in different ways. Whatever that was done at the district, he will make sure that we are all involved. If you don't want to get involved, he will not force you. But when there's a meeting, whether it's over the weekend, whether it's afternoon, you will make sure that the information is disseminated to all staff members and say people must go. But the reality is, he also had his own team that he would always go with, because he knew they would always be available. In closing, Program Director, I just want to talk about my personal life with him without work life. Ubaba Mali, he took me as his own son. I remember when both my parents passed on, he came to both funerals. My parents were buried in Venda. He made sure that he attended. But not just being there physically in terms of attendance. He also assisted me in burying my parents. He gave me money while I was employed working for the department and said, Thamsanqa Mali, please don't misuse it. I will not mention the amount. Don't misuse it. But just make sure that your parents are buried in dignity. Both parents. When my mom passed on, because she was the first, the same was done. When my father passed on, he did that. Ubaba Mali, we will go to different meetings. We will go to different areas together on daily basis. Ubaba Mali trusted me with his life. When we go to meetings, when it is time to eat, I will stand up and go and dish up for him. And he will not question or comment. When I bring the food, he will eat like I have prepared for him. However, when we're in a meeting, when someone goes out and bring him food, he will say, Thamsanqa Mali, touch the plate, it release. I will go. fetch his food and bring him his food. People will try and dish up for him. Others sometimes they will irritate him with that process because kunokudla byangakuthandi at all. I'll mention beetroot. Wafaka beetroot ekudleni kwakhe, you've messed his day. Messed his day. He will tell you, this reminds me of the life in exile. The blood that I used to see. He wouldn't want anything to do with beetroot. As we go around, Ubaba Mali liked his juice. He liked his Red Bull. He liked his iced tea. And obviously, Ubaba Mali was a smoker. Every day, coming back from work or any other meeting, will stop at Spa. He will stock his stuff. Juice, Red Bull, iced tea, and cigarette. But it is not only about buying that. The staff at Spa were benefiting in the process as they come to buy. Ubaba Mali was so generous. As he buy those things, whatever the change was, he will give to the staff. To such an extent, Masesingena Espa, the staff, the tillers will fight to save him. They will stand up. The way he was so generous. You know? So I'm trying to say, today, as the people, as his children, as his friends, as his colleagues, as his comrades, we have lost. The heavens has gained. Hamba kahle tata, hamba kahle comrade. But as he used to say that indlela ibuza kwabaphambili. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi ngoba uhambe phambili kwalomliso oqeda ukuhamba izolo okuthiwa uFW de Klerk. Uma efika lapho mangabuza kuwe ukuthi kwambeka kanjani lapho, ngicela umbuyisele emhlabeni eze azosiphendula kuqala ukuthi uDavid Webster wabulawa ubani, ukuthi uEmma Saterhe wabulawa ubani, ukuthi uComrade Chrisani wabulawa ubani, ukuthi who authorized the SANDF to train the soldiers or the warriors of the IFP to go and attack our people in our township. Thank you, comrades.
Angola, 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 Gina, ya Khotole, Angola, 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 Gina, ya Khotole, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Kemoto, Kemoto Khotole, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Tami Mali, Kemoto, Kemoto Khotole, Ayesi, 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 Kemoha, Kemoha Khotole, Ayesi,
Amanda, comrades. Comrades, we will have that session when we come to the second phase of the program. And now can we just try to rush through the family, the phase one of the program. I would like to also call on the friend, Babu Mandla Maseko, to come forward.
Water, comrade.
Amanda.
Awethu.
Sabara mana mthanza sakhe. Amanda.
Awethu.
Awethu.
Amanda.
Hayi ngiright. Ngiyasonja. Ngiyasonja. Hey. My friend, comrade wami. Usnake face. Bengimbiza usnake face. Lesonke ehlathini. Narumfundisi ngo-terrorist. Nalelinye i-terrorist. Nanti i-terrorist. Sonke. So I left Angola. I went to Tanzania to work with the OAU. Abashe Angola. And then from the OAU Tanzania, the ANC sent me to UK to work with a DIP with Jill Marcus, former Reserve Bank, and Francis Medi, editor Chava, and Umzala Kumar. And then some years later, Tammy came to Busobenyoka. I was based in London. And then at that time, when he came to London, I was in Manchester. He came in Manchester and we were happy to meet. And then I left him with one late comrade who Tabon Ndlovu. He was also schooling at Manchester University. He did his master's there. When he came to London, they were all converging in my house. When they came in my house, everybody was demanding food. Because I used to, as a terrorist, run around London by food. Then I found I'm an Indian from Uganda. Abaxhosa Armenia. They were selling food in Nimbu. So I used to cook food in my house and Nepal. So every South African, even those we found there in London, they didn't know where to buy food. So time will come, smoke, a cigarette, and demand food. I'm a cooker. I know how to cook. And because I found that young man there. They go on our being Angola. Being Asha, Wuti, Siope. Ogunya, tin staff has a series scope. Sometimes we'll sing an amazing, you don't call me so scope. If I'm a young, what do you call it? Beef tea, yeah. The bull bread, yeah. What is the total Amazon come apart? So we lived in Tammy, Busobenyoka. They formed another group, Beno, with the elder brother Banyaza Swift, Unix. Bonga Basara Landy. If we go back to the writing, I will be rich. Because most of the South African can be white, Indian, and Chinese white. They would phone me at the airport, the Heathrow Airport, waiting for Barada, and the Bongo was and I had to ask the former of the late Chief Representative Willington Thamsanqa Mali. What must I do? How will I feed these people? Then the ANC will give me money, particularly Mkhoto. But Shadeke lapho siphuza ama-drink ethu a-special. Yeah. Tammy was being my friend for a quite long time. I figured I can ngizamile umsebenzi, sebenza, but I went back to the army soldier. 2013 I was shot. My wife tried to find it out time while I was in hospital. Tammy organized a seminar. I think in Angola, I spent one military hospital. I found a platoon with arsenal in my house. Wakati, I saw the mood. I organized all time. Thomas, who called to West Thomas. Who don't find out with Thomas. I'm pushing some push-ups much. Anyway, not to waste time. The second program is been talking from our salute. Because we such a call. There's not such a call. In more than I say we finish. I'm a such a call. Foot's proud. No bangas Gina was let off. Bangas share bangas niggas into about federals, not the Nazareth. But you are proud to be members of the Terrorist Army. Thank you.
Siyabonga Comrade.
Comrades, this is, you are in Ward 11, Midval. Our branch is wealthy with political commissars. We have Commissar Mali, we have Commissar Teker is here, we have Commissar Smokey. We are very wealthy, and others are lying low. They are all here in Midval, in this ward. Without further ado, can I call a colleague, Advocate Joe Chilwani.
Colleagues and comrades, if there are still any left, good afternoon. We are approaching the evening. The program director, members of the bereaved family, with Ausbusi included, the leadership of the African National Congress and all other MDM structures, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for having given me this golden and wonderful opportunity of talking about an educator. A lot of people used to refer to him as a teacher, and I want to correct that here and now and once and forever. Cde Thamsanqa Willington, also known as Commander of the Armed Forces, also known as the Black Diamond, also known as Busobenyoka, was a very great man. He was not a teacher, because with teaching can both be negative and positive, but a pedagogue or an education cannot in any way be negative. You can't teach young ones how to steal. You can't teach young ones how to disrespect their elders. You can't teach them you can't educate them, but you can teach them those. Now, Thamsanqa Mali to me was a pedagogue, and he was also a pedagogician in his name and right. Thamsanqa Mali loved education with passion, and when I worked in his office as one of the managers and a senior manager in his office, he used to send us to schools where there was no educative teaching and learning. And the predetermined objective of sending us there was to stabilize those schools within no time. He would give an instruction and say to us, go and ensure that tomorrow morning educative teaching and learning starts at full force at that school. And how you do it, I don't care. But when you come here, you must come and tell me that teaching has started. Educative teaching has started at the school. Thamsanqa Mali loved education, and Thamsanqa Mali was an asset for the Gauteng Department of Education and the whole nation. When I said colleagues and comrades, if there's Italy any left, I said it with a reason. There are a number of people, I looked for them, that we worked with at GDE, who used to come here and literally camp here, even depriving the commander time that he could spend with his family, quality time that he could spend with his family. But today we don't see them. It is for the fourth time that I come here, and I've never seen one of them. Now that is actually confirming the fact that when days are dark, they are not few in this time. They are non-existent. And when I was told that I will be talking at this memorial service about Thamsanqa as a colleague, I realized that, and I was given the program, I realized that, okay, phase 2 has quite a considerable number of people who are well qualified and who are authorities to speak about Thamsanqa as a revolutionary. And they will do that. But there are a number of things that Thamsanqa Mali taught us. He taught us, one, to be loyal. He actually said that when he faced problems, personal problems, within Gauteng Department of Education, I said to him, if Commander, this can happen to you, what about us? He said, the mistake that you are making, you forget that ANC is a national movement. You forget that ANC does not belong to any individual. You can start with OR and down to those that are still alive. No one of them has a title deed of the African National Congress. The African National Congress belongs to the people of South Africa. And stop being a member of a member. Be loyal to the ANC, not loyal to different individuals. Even if you can be hurt, even if you can be crushed, do not despise the ANC, because you are nothing without the ANC. The other thing that Thamsanqa Mali taught us is scientific tools of analysis. That Thamsanqa Mali could think on his feet. Thamsanqa Mali could think on his feet. And a number of people could not tolerate him because he was just like that. He will call a spade without dilly-dallying, without beating about the bush. Thamsanqa Mali did not like Christianity, despite the fact that he was born in a Christian family. He also had the tall banji. I know he was given the tall banji by the older father when he passed on. But he did not put it on. And I now, after having studied through, why does Thamsanqa Mali, a man who is actually resembling a younger brother to Jesus Christ, a man who would bring smiles on the faces of all of us, why doesn't he like Christianity? Then I came across a quotation by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said, if it were not of Christians themselves, the whole world could be Christian. And he even further more said that God gave us both the operational, who gave us the strategic plan and the operational plan in Matthew 22, in Matthew verse 22, Matthew chapter 22 verses 34 to 40. In those, you will read it at home. Yeah. You will find the summary of the law as recorded in that Matthew's. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. That is the strategic plan that was from above. And to operationalize this strategic plan, there is another commandment which was equal to that. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yeah. And then Commander loved us all. He loved everybody. He brought smiles to the faces of a number of us. He even reminded me of what Nelson Mandela once said. He said that it is not important that one lived. What is important is the difference that you made to other people. Yes. And Thamsanqa Mali, I tried to convince him as a Christian that, but Christianity is noble, brother man. Follow it and what have you. I said to him, when Jesus was at the wedding at Cana, he realized that wine was in short supply. And he directed that water must be brought, and he changed that wine that water into wine. And by so doing, he was nationalizing the wining industry of that time. That is community. The feeding of the multitude with loaves, 5 loaves of bread and fishes. Jesus made them to multiply. I said to Commander, by so doing, Jesus was nationalizing the bakery and the fishing industry of that time. And they said, Dukes, that you will tell to the debates. If one is to talk about Thamsanqa Mali, one can take the whole week, the whole month, the whole year, and the whole century. And I suspected that I'm going to stop from somewhere when I realized that I'm the last one in phase 1. I'm the last one in phase 1. Perhaps they knew that Joe can go out of hand. Joe can shoot from the hip. He can even tell you of how Tammy left GDE and what have you. But he said in politics, there are no permanent friends and permanent enemies. And in those words, using those words, he was quoting OR. Thank you.
Amanda, comrades, just to sum up phase 1, the last engagement as a branch with Comrade Thamsanqa Mali was during the councillor nominations. There was few unruly comrades who were making noise. He was busy saying, I will quote you, I will give you, I will make copies if you don't have of the ANC constitution. In terms of section 25, you do not qualify to be whatever you are claiming you want to be. You must maintain high discipline as an ANC comrade. The constitution was his Bible of the ANC. The constitution of the ANC was his Bible, and he transferred that to us as a branch to say, you must always stick to the ANC constitution, you will never go wrong as a comrade. Be ethical, be disciplined at all times. Therefore, on that note, I would like to call Comrade Thamsanqa to go through with phase 2, which will be more of political speakers who will be taking from here.
Amanda, comrades, we are building a soldier now. How many morale I told? Comrades, thank you, Comrade Lebu. Thank you, comrades, members of the family for welcoming us and the good support. Comrades, because we are streaming, the service is live. Because of hadna sufficient light. The speaker then we'll after that. Again, comrade. Please, cooperation will be highly appreciated. Comrades, this is how we're gonna deal with this issue, political program. Comrade only 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Then after comrade message of support 3 minutes. After comrade military veterans. No, not military veterans, Veterans League. And then not the ambush. We cannot afford not to have our comrades honoring many of us comrades in Bulelo. Comrades who came to join ANC and MK in exile in '85. Many of them, they were product of COSAS. There's one person in South Africa, when you talk about COSAS, when we were growing up in the valley, comrades will tell you when we wanted to do something. They said Ululu Johnson was telling what he sends us, so we didn't even know him. And they resonated throughout the country. Everywhere, the matter was about Ululu Johnson who sends us, so but today we are privileged to have a Comrade Lulu Johnson. After NCU flick, I would like Comrade Lulu Johnson to come through, ex-president to come say a word or two. And after that, we'll have a comrade from South African Communist Party, will just give us, will give Comrade 3 minutes, as well Comrade Tembi Ngosi. Then after that, we'll have Commander Tuma Malam. Comrades, I think we could order you again. Okay, without any waste of time, Comrade Langahata, can you think? We tell me back, comrades, if you know we share fast because they are strict. Mastify. Comrades, mastify. Comrades, mastify. As si feel so chala. And the shine maximum discipline. We are satisfied. What was it? Take away your stream today. As now light and the dental and about to buy the light. Must sabotage. As Talbon Mutomsa.
Manda. Manda don't leave the spirit of Thamsanqa Mali, don't leave. Don't leave. Don't leave the untying spirit of Thamsanqa Mali, don't leave. Don't leave. Ngizothanda ukubingelela zonke inkokheli ekhona ngegaba ngokuhlukahlukana kwazo ukusuka emabranchini ukuze kuyofika eprovince ngaphansi kobuholi banobhala we-ANC ubabu Comrade Jacob Kawu. Ngicabanga ukuthi useyishilo program director ukuthi igama ngulanga wakade ngokuhlala ngihlala khona la eSavannah City extension 4 kuma-RDP engize ngakho la bangiphi ithuba abantu abasha on behalf of RTT ukuthi angizokhuluma ngale iqhawe selilele la kuBaba uMali. uBaba uMali ngimaze ngonyaka 2014 uBaba uMali. Mangimazi uBaba uMali ngonyaka 2014 bese recruiter sibuya from Orange Farm ukuthi no ibranch lehamba kunabantu ababeyi members ka ANC babehlala kule ward abahamba bayojoin opposition. As a result, labo bantu labo mabe join opposition eDA base bashare ama strategy and tactic we-ANC ne-opposition kwi-DA to say na indlela esingayisebenzisa ukuthi sikwazi ukuketula i-ANC. uBaba uMali ke no ma uComrade uJC the late Comrade uJC abeza kuthina baza ngomqondo ukuthi ke kubalekile ukuthi sihambe sona ukuthi amanye members azokwazi ukuzoregister ngapha. Ngabe umunye umuntu abantu abasha ababa very instrumental kuleyo program ekutheni ke so register abantu si collect abantu abasha ababehlala ku Orange Farm go Everton na go Fine Town ukuthi abayaza bazoregister la kule ward kwi ward 11 so that sizokwazi ukuretainer I ward 11 sesu ANC. Ngikhuluma ngoBaba uMali wangifundisa indlela yokuhamba ukuthi khanjwa kanjani makhanjwa la endleleni. Ngithe ngihamba endleleni siphila nayo Baba uThama uMali. Ikhathi zinzima ke wayengibiza uvuka ibamba ngangamazi nanokuthi igama likavuka ibamba lisho ukuthini. Ngafundiswa Baba uMali ukuthi no sabantu abasha abantu abasha uvuka ibanga wangirecommend uBaba uThama ukuthi ke angene uBC khona because wayengibona nje umfana omncane uyaluzayo nje lo mfana lo ne-energy ufuna simthathe simsondezela sikwazi ukumfundisa inhlangano because simthumayele ngihamba ngonyawo ngaleso sikhathi simthumayele ididel abuye ehamba ele koyeni umuntu kodwa ushaya ngonyawo and wenza ngayo yonke indlela ukuthi ANC yaphila la yabo wangirecommend uBaba uMali mangirecommend ukuthi angene nami ku structure seBC ngakhethwa ke nami ngaqoka ngiqoka ithimba laBaba uMali engikuhlonipha kakhulu ngoBaba uMali noma engithandile ngakufunda njengomuntu ngumuntu ophansi mina kakhulu ngokuthi mawungianalyze ngoba material condition angiyena umuntu omusha onemoto mhlambe noma nomuzi noma ongakhombi into anyane ethizini kuyena abanye abantu abanazo kodwa uBaba uMali beyangenza ngifile ngathi nami ngibale kudlula kuwo wonke umuntu. That was Baba uMali. Ebesithi mahleli sama communities engage noBaba uMali athi into ofanele kuyichaza ngendlela elula ezokwazi ukuthi understand wonke umuntu. It's unfortunately ukuthi uBaba uMali uhamba kulesikhathi esinjena ba amagerilo omkhonto wesizwe. Ngenhlanhla ngizalwa yiwo nama amagerilo. Ngenhlanhla nje ubaba ongizalayo mina uyigerila ungahlonipha kakhulu amagerilo. Ubhlungu ukuthi iwelfare yabo ayisekwazanga ukufinyelela kuwe. In actual fact bayaboshwa babhizi badlala amajele kumanje. ngokuthi bafuna imfuno zabo ukuthi into zamakhomanda zenzeke kodwa zenzeki abazokwenza bazoba crucify babafaka emajele babavulela amacala babathathe from pillar to post ngezathu zokuthi babethenjisiwe ukuthi ke fanele ukuthi kube nento ethizeni abazoyithola ngonyaka 1994 abangazange baze bayithola up until today. I think njengabantu abasha fanele sik understand ukuthi obaba Mali mabe uJohn Mzabalazo babe ngabona abantu abadala kwabantu abasha through the 4 pillars of the struggle. Ngonyaka 1985 obaba Mali babe hosayinyova ngaleso sikhathi ngizokhumbula namhlanje ngiyezwa bayikhuluma indaba lomuntu ohambile uNgqwankulu uDeclerk kuthiwa lo muntu lona wayilunge kakhulu lo muntu wasinika inkululeko lo muntu lo kanti it was the 4 pillars of the struggle ezamphushela ekhoneni ukuze aye kuma negotiation la wagcine kwakona izinto efanele sizikhumbule lezo. And it's very true makhoma ukuthi thina siyafela siyile generation yethu particularly ka 2011 our generational mission my comrades besithi economic freedom in our lifetime sizamile ukuyirescue ANC maqabana ukuthi size need these nalama police na these 7 cabinet pillars of the ANC youth league si generation ka 2011 kodwa ANC uyahlulekwa implementa lama resolution ka 2011 as a result namhlanje below 50% because of such maqabana. And we are apologetic about that because fanele sikhulume lento bayazi leyo. I think abantu abasha it's about time ukuthi sihambe soyithatha membership emara board so that sizokwazi ukwenza ngayo yonke indlela ukuthi these 7 cabinet pillars of the ANC youth league siyaziphusha ngayo yonke indlela ngoba ukuthi ukuthi abantu abayimiselanga ukuthi bawenze umsebenzi abakujahile ufanele balethe amakamera babopha ama comrades basho zonke lezi zinto eziningi ekhona la. And if asikhulume le iqiniso leli angazi lokhulunywa obani obaba Mali bakwazi ukuphusha umzabalazo njengoba ngichaza bakwazi ukuphusha umzabalazo obaba uDeclerk bangene ekhoneni bagcine benganayo ichoice kufanele baze bayicreate indlela kufanele kuyoxoxa ngo-2012 abantu abadala bebesidefy umdala ukhawu ngenhlanhla ukhona bebesidefy abantu abadala ngo-2012 conference but international politics parental forces azivumi sathi thina simile ngale 7 cabinet pillars because impilo abantu abakithi ayikashintshi. The special type of colonization is saphila ngaphansi kwana namhlanje. It's very sad maqabane masuka la majority of us bazobesuka ngenyawo bebhekela emakhaya sisasokola up until today makhoma. What are we saying is the ANC Youth League? It's about time makhoma ukuthi uthathe membership emara board sambeni soshintsha the status quo because the status quo ayisebenzeni makhoma. Mandla
amandla ya comrade comrade langa uyibekile comrade Matsidiso angithi comrade siyazi ukuthi i-youth ifanele ukuthi ibe militant akithi nathi sidlule lapho ukuthi ama comrades who came before us babasitshela izinto sithi hayi comrades hey thina sifuna ukulithatha kusasa abo comrade duma bathi hayi bafana bathi bafika nabafike bajafile abakhomanda bathi ukuthi hayi ANC I understand the patience ku ANC. But comrades, without any use time, comrade Matsidiso hayo. Comrades, retobana le comrade Amos Munyela. Maruto bua le rona ko online. Ola ba kena ola ba tla kena earlier on. But before comrades, retobitsa comrade from SACP comrade Bominkosi to say a word or two messages of support. Then immediately the president, Comrade Lulu Johnson, just to greet us to say a word or two. Then we carry on a couple of them. Comrade Bongosi, can you just give us the message?
Mandla, wait too. Indeed, Comrade Tsinki, Retopatalisol. And allow us to celebrate the life of Comrade Thami. Just in 2 seconds. I don't think in 2 seconds we can take your time. Just in 2 seconds. Nanguthekwa nematutu yangilandela uskiphe kaveni. Nanguthekwa nematutu yangilandela uyangilandela. Uyangilandela uyangilandela. Thank you very much, comrades. We have to celebrate the life of this giant, Comrade Thamsanqa Mali, a disciplinarian of high note, an educator, a man who was worried about the state of affairs in the organization. And I know Comrade Thamsanqa, we were supposed to have an appointment. We were going to sit down with Comrade Mali and share some of his experiences, because Comrade Mali led, and he was with the senior members of the SACP in exile. And he goes now with that memory that we were supposed to meet with him and share that memory. Comrade Mali is leaving us 1 week just from the local government elections. And of course, he was worried about the ANC, because he would have wanted to see ANC winning mid-file. But our behavior, which was his main concern as a chairperson of the disciplinary committee in the province, was a matter of concern to him. I know at some point I had to meet with him while I was in a disciplinary hearing to be a witness in a particular case. And of course, one thing that he tested as a chair of the disciplinary committee is the knowledge of the organization to the witness. You've got to understand the organization first before you can become a witness. And one of the things that he asked me, Comrade Thamsanqa, are you willing to give your testimony in front of those who are charged? So I had to answer yes or no. And if it's no, my testimony is likely to be questioned. But if yes, and I say what I say in front of the perpetrators, definitely I'm not afraid of saying this. And it means I'm telling the truth in front of the perpetrators. And that was Comrade Mali for you, because he believed in facts more than anything else. Now, Comrade Jacob, what is left of us now, Provincial Secretary, it's how do we go back to the masses and do the mass work. Going back to the masses and not doing the mass work is like we're just playing. Comrades in Cde, when Joburg was a hung municipality in 2016, they were priding themselves that they won Mfuleni outrightly. Now, and you would have thought that Comrades have learned something out of that situation, but Comrades never learned anything. We have never learned anything, because today, Mfuleni is a hung municipality. And some of you comrades and some of us were very proud to tell comrades from Joburg to say, you have a hung municipality, as if we are doing something not to be in a hung situation. And today we're in a hung situation. But what bothers me, and I so hope that some of the comrades who are leaders in the region here, Comrade Jacob, are here. Because we must say these things without fear or favor. It cannot be correct that when you are discussing coalition talks, you are also discussing your own coalition within the ANC. You start to talk about power sharing within the ANC. It cannot be correct. And then when we raise these things, then you say we are demanding positions within the ANC. No, comrades, we are not demanding positions. We must be very clear about that. Do what you think is right that you are doing, but do it better. We appreciate what you are doing, but just do it better. We were supposed to be disappointed about the results of the local government elections, but comrades were not disappointed. In fact, some, they think that the coalition talks and the coalition situation will give them a space or a last chance to go and loot more. We must say these things without fear or favor. We must say these things without fear or favor, because at the end of the day, it's not me and my family who are suffering the damage, it is the ANC. It is the ANC. People are not voting the ANC not because they do not love the ANC. If people that did not love the ANC, they were supposed to go into polls and numbers and vote against. They decided to hold back their votes. They say improve yourselves. But Comrade Jacob, unfortunately here in Cde, there's nothing that has changed. Comrades are meeting amongst themselves. They are discussing power sharing. We are giving you the mayorship, give us the MM. What is that, comrades? What type of a discussion is that within the Congress movement? Instead of us being worried, how do we go back to the people and do mass work? Because that's what should be occupying our minds now. Let's go back to the people and do the. I thought Congress Pro is here because I want to say, because I am saying it here. And I'm not whispering it, and I'm not gossiping about it. I am talking about something that they are doing. Mandla!
Amandla! Well, Comrade Thamsanqa. We see comrades will tell you Communist Party, the role that it played in shaping the leadership of the ANC. If you look at Midval, it's a base of Communist Party. We have Comrade Ace. Many comrades would know Comrade Ace is staying Ampukamona is one of the key comrades that were here. The senior members of ANC and members of Communist Party. But comrades, Comrade Pierce, Comrade Thamsanqa is saying it was important. ANC haya Sholwa because it's a home.
Yes, yes.
But I don't know about ANC are the rat. But I'm not the way they took a thing. But comrades, come on the Clemona. Harata monopolitique. Rateba get to feel the soul. Harbatu Sani Bo Colisile, but one about the high mona. At once about the city about the Gamata Tabo. I get about comrades. We have our platforms where we deal with these issues. But the truth of the matter, there are a lot of challenges. And the challenges start not only simple, Comrade Lulu. Our challenges are very simple. We all know who are the culprits, who are doing all these things. Fully we know who are the troublemakers. And I don't think that it's only, we know people who have caused ANC this thing. We know in Midval who's creating problems. You know, comrades, some of the things retra over handle. Omumwata literally uklisa family tsabo. Batlaka di baso wa family sebetsi was comrades here. Others of the comrades are deployed as a more fan. Comrades di fa batho lisa batho ba di basi ba fading. So comrades, these things are things that are irritating our community. And we know about these things. The Khateti comrade is correct. Comrade Tami would call us here, the comrade, we did another case. Adam Chana must say analyze. We'll analyze the case, but how does the problem mean? You know, sometimes it's diplomatic about these things. One of the frustrating things at Comrade Time, the actions I didn't go for. But what we are saying to say, we are in a process of renewing and rebuilding the ANC. Because comrades are understanding the thing the comrade president is saying. Comrades, let's call Comrade Lulu Johnson, the president, after the addresser, then straight away the Kenan Oma commander. Comrade Lulu.
Mantla. Uzongona ndincane kangaka thambo ndinikipazu. Uzongona ndincane kangaka thambo ndinikipazu. Thambo ndinikipazu. Mantla. Program Director, a family of Comrade Mali, leadership of the ANC and its allied forces present here, is led by the Deputy Chair, Comrade Panyasi Lusufi. Comrades, Comrade Mali, you invited me to come and visit you at your home. And I'm only visiting you when you are no more. Together, myself and Buddha and Comrade Tami would have long nights seated somewhere, but he would still have been insisting that I come and visit him at his home. He gave me a picture of how his home looks like, and unfortunately, only on Monday that one came through here to pay his respect. Not all is lost, my brother. even as you leave us in this hour of need in our revolution. As a young generation, we are confident that we shall turn the ANC around and we shall end South Africa, we shall set it free for the motive forces as defined in our strategy and tactics. The motive forces are defined there. They tell you about the women, they talk to you about young people, they talk about Africans, black business. These are your beneficiaries of our revolution. I repeat, the report out there tells you that with our 90-10, yesterday it was 80-20, the other day, today in fact it is 70-30. 70 as you bid for anything in our government, you are told that 70 at some point was 80, at some point was 90, it must be price. Then with the crumbs, you are there to fight among ourselves. These are your women, these are your youth, these are your people living with disabilities, these are your veterans, all having to share in those crumbs. Today it is 30%. That report tells you that white business in South Africa today is asking itself a question. But these people have been fighting and getting all these things against us. If we had known that this is what they wanted, we would have long given them. Precisely because the most beneficiaries of our revolution today are white business. It's a fact. The slogan that talks about unity in action sounds like light words. Just imagine, comrades, where the resources that we spend in our little factions and corners, the time that we spend in those little factions, and the energies, if all of those would have been directed towards a unity project whose task can only be about a strong ANC and a strong Communist Party, a strong COSATU and a strong SANCO. Just imagine, when you convene any conference, there is more money out there in those factions than money within the organization. And the organization is struggling. Even as we speak today, I take it that we are talking among each other here. Yeah. That you have an ANC staff member who cannot be paid for 3 months. Today, what we call this, the Provident Fund having been taken away, the medical aid have been cancelled. It's a shame. And yet, a number of our leaders, they are billionaires. There is something very serious that is happening with our movement. And I cannot really begin to imagine how it gets to be. As you leave us, Comrade Mali, you decided to pull one of us, Comrade Johannes Jongo Mancane, along as you give one consolidated and balanced report to the leadership of our movement. Comrade Joe just gave in yesterday only, as he would have been suffering and being ill like you, Comrade Mali. You are one of a chosen few among the principled until the end. You gave your life to the revolutionary movement and the people of South Africa. COSAS claimed you as one of its own, who united in a student worker alliance program that brought Transvaal at the time to a standstill. It is such occasions that as we speak among ourselves that we remind each other of where we are going. Lest we forget, the Education Charter remains an ideal that we must all pursue so as to give clarity to the type of education that we want in South Africa. As a new activist before SATU, you rose as part of an alliance collective on the occasion and united the people of the then PWV. Organizing is a skill which we ushered over time, always working in alliance with the strategic and tactical alliances. Comrades, we have come to pay a tribute to a disciplined cadre of our movement. Part of what constituted of any ANC activist was utmost discipline, guided by its constitution that dictates that it continues to be a crime against humanity to pursue divisions and factionalism within the ANC and its allied formations. Visiting OR Tambo the other day, myself, Rabu, and Peter, and Ignatius Jacobs, may his soul rest in peace. One of the things that Comrade OR Tambo raised, lying in bed at the time, was about the divisions within the movement. And he cites the Harare Declaration and how he got his stroke out of such a process. But critically, President OR Tambo was talking about the information out of which a meeting of the ANC shall have been sitting. Within no time, that information is out there. There used to be a publication called Africa Confidential in London. And I just have been Googling about it. It is still in existence, that organization. And National Executive Committee of the ANC, only of 25 members, information would be leaking. That's what killed Comrade OR Tambo, among others. And unfortunately, such a disease is still continuing within our movement as we speak today. Whether we meet as regional executive committee or a provincial, let alone meeting as national executive committee, that disease is still there. So as the ANC and SACTU, as you acted on instruction in such a Transvaal stay away of 1984, such a unity of students and workers brought Transvaal to a standstill, all in pursuit of our struggles. As I mentioned, that part of what we have as the ANC is to do away with divisions and factionalism. They do not assist the ANC at all. They can only serve the enemy. Question that we should ask ourselves is whether do we really want to feed the enemy? It's a big problem that we really have to interrogate among ourselves. This is in 1991, as some are going back home. Comrade Tammy, among others, were part of those that remained at number 28 Penton Street in London. That would have been your ANC office, alongside with Comrade Steve Chote and many others. I remember meeting him at that office and almost blew his cover as I referred to him as Tammy. He was very disciplined on those issues. His love and passion to education was no match that upon returning back from exile, he joined the Department of Education. Indeed, 2020, 2021 are years that have showed us flames. Many families' homes have since shut down. We have lost a father, a grandfather, an uncle, a comrade, an ANC activist, an MK commander, and a Communist Party commissar. As we honor Comrade Tammy, let us espouse his discipline, dedication, and focus. I'm aware that such words are familiar. We all talk about it as we go into any of these funerals. But this time around, I am confident that under your leadership, Comrade Panyaza and Comrade Jacob, such words shall be living words, whose aim can only be about to change the lives of our people for the better. Lastly, to the leadership of the ANC in Gauteng province, there is no one country in the world that does not look after its military veterans. And once you do that, you do it at your own peril. Long live this undying spirit of Comrade Thamsanqa Mali, long live. Abu, yeah.
Yeah, Africa. Thank you, Comrade President. Comrade Lulu Johnson, as I said earlier on, is utile especially for Comrade Tammy's funeral. He's from PE in the Eastern Cape. Thank you, Comrade President. Without any waste of time, you know there's so much that we can say about Comrade Tammy, but because of time we can't say much. I would like to call upon Comrade Commander Dumamlam.
Siya.
Comrades, this is Comrade Tuma. It's Commander Tuma. When you talk about Commander Tuma, who's Commander Kulagamnant? Commander Tuma is a fighter. Commander Tuma survived the Battle of Mutale. He fought the Boers from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening. We'll tell you about that battlefield. There were 9 comrades who came into that country. Unfortunately, 5 comrades died in that battle. Comrade Duma, Comrade Gap, Comrade Pele, and Comrade Nkolisi survived. And unfortunately, Comrade Gap, because he was shot, right? Unfortunately, I was speaking to him yesterday, he could not make it. He was arrested in Venda, but as a commander, he managed to escape. But Comrade Duma, we are here, comrades, we welcome you to say it's very important, comrades, I know we don't have time, to say sometimes when we talk about doing MK, abantu batela abahlala badakiwe. Comrades, there's stories that we can tell. Unfortunately, we could not talk about some of the things that happened here in Midval. There were a lot of things under the leadership of Comrade at the late Comrade time. But comrades, I want to present to you Commander Duma. Commander Duma is the fighting force of Umkhonto weSizwe. He was trained in Angola and is a special force. Our special force, a comrade, is a comrade that is the president. Comrade Duma.
All power, not the segments of power. Not the segments of power. Mangibingelele unkokheli zami. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi zonke ihlalo ngokulingana kwazo. Nobhala wesifunda sethu eGauteng. Wosikhokhelayo. Siyabonga kubaphathi bohlelo mfundisi. Ngibonge umphakathi, ngibonga amalungu kaKhongolose. The Youth League, non-existent as it is. Uma kunentsha ingaphatheki kabi. Let's look at our motherboard. Ukuthi konakele phi kwaKhongolose when we no longer have the Youth League. Why is Sinonyawupe? Ngiyabonga mfana kaKhadebe that ucommander no asihlukanisa, the commissar
the fighting commissar, Thamsanqa Mali, Hart Sibande. Wakufundisa kahle. Comrades, I've met Thamsanqa. Mina bengimbiza Obrati. May his soul rest in peace. A revolutionary, a gallant fighter, a family man. Sanibonga umndeni wakwaMali ukusiboleka insizwa efana nale. Ngiyakubona, ngiyakuzwa mongameli wami ukhosas Comrade Lulu Johnson. Ngiyezwa uyazithinta le indaba zika 84. When I met with Comrade Thamsanqa, it was before we left for Amahlata Mnyama. When himself, together with Ukomisa Opa Tekeremnaring, were the leaders who were organizing that strike in November. When the strike was organized, the enemy was shaken. Ngenhlanhla enkulu uthi Clerk uzomdlalela ukomisa. Uzomdlalela whether he likes it or not. He'll have to Obratama hambe phezu kwathi Clerk. Makufikwa ke ngale ngaphesheya wayengayithanda indaba yokuthi sikhulume ngesonto mfundisi. Bezokutshela kahle ukuthi ubaba bekamfundisi. Obezothi uBrathami athi River. You know that Mbegati is strata zegolide. When there are potholes up Lane, that was Commissar Busobenyoka. So both of him and Obra Opa, they taught me a lot. Obra Opa is now an ambassador in Angola. He requested me to ask the family, ngiyabonga mndeni wakwaMali. I hope you'll manage to come ukomisa Cde Guerra Nopala to come and say farewell, my comrade, my brother. Kuleso strike, the Boers abazi ukuthi bashaywa yini. I was very young also. Ngijima left and right, mobilizing, immobilization that we are failing to do today as the African National Congress, because we are no longer mass-based. We are aloof from the masses of our people. Let us stop lying. The ANC must lead its people properly and honestly. Comrade Thamsanqa taught me that. Sashaya so strike, saba effective. It was a 2-day strike. It's a Transvaal. But it never ended in Transvaal. It became a national strike. Kwathula kwathitu eMzansi. Hayanqanqazela, hayanqanqazela. But then, effectively speaking, I was taught properly by this giant. And Nopala, I thought the province would have given the commissar the provincial status. We are still waiting though. We are still waiting. I'm not criticizing, I'm not saying anything because an application was made to the province. But it shows, masihamba ngonyawo lonwabo, ukuthi we are really not ready to save one of our own properly. Because sila lapho sikhona khona. You know, I sometimes used to say, Bratam bacheli iminyaka yakho yeqiniso. I heard people saying, Bratam uzalwe 1958. Kuphi? Uqozolo Bratam. Sisibuzi, yalazi uqozola ngithi. Bratam was beyond his age as a person. He was old because I remember when I was saying, Bratam, uyazi niyahlupha nini nizalelwe kumaqhugwane because i-birth certificate yakho ayikho. So as a result of that, uzithola sethi uzelwe ngo-58. Retire manje. It's about time that you relax. You have run your race and you have won it. He has won his race, Bratam, my dear comrades. He has served the people of South Africa with pride and dignity. He has served Ikaya, the African National Congress, until his last days, because he managed ukuthi abe disciplinary committee. Was a disciplinarian. Mfana wami, wena ungazange waphakamise isandla. You know very well. Abengeke hayi ngoba besekhathele. But he wanted to show you indlela. And I think you saw indlela. So ukhulile uyindoda ungathi awazi uzokhalela lapha. No sikhona. Nami ngizokubamba nje noqonde njengothi kumkhonto. Njengoba naye wayengiphethe ngakhona. Bratam has been underground for years, comrades, before we went to exile. I want to correct some of these things. He was an underground operative of Umkhonto Wesizwe. He has operated with people the likes of Comrade Samson Doe in the trade unions. He has operated in many platforms. Umakathi umongameli uLulu Johnson, Comrade Thami, at some point ubese London, njengoba Comrade Mandla was saying. Masifika ngaphandle from sisuka eBotswana, we went to Angola with Obra Opa and other comrades, amongst them Comrade Tau here. Because the leadership knew ukuthi bamfunela ukumisa uphi, they took him to the northern camp when we were taken to the east. So sagcina sihlangana ke late mase sibuya la ecountryn. But the truth of the matter is that he has long been underground, Busobenyoka. And in his underground work, it's when I happened to meet with him, even even during the 90s, when Comrade Frank ekhuluma ngokuthi de Klerk must account, because we regrouped and we formed defense units. That's the fighting spirit ukomisa beka ibambe ngayo. We formed those defense units and we dealt big blows with enemy defending our people. Most of the people here, they've benefited, like the previous speakers have said. Ube nobuntu. Ubepha. One other part, engeke nithi anifuna ukuyizwa. Comrade Frank, I don't know where we are. Belangangeni athenge on lama Red Bull, the tea, the whiskey was there. Whiskey was there. Abengeke ishiye la ispa. Catherine, you know, ukuthi besiphuza kangakanani. But at times he will tell you ukuthi uyabona ke manje river sekufike labantu abasela amanzi ezitsha bazofuna ukuqhipha utshalo babethapha. Ngithi ya esikomisa no uyibambe. Athi ngoba ngiphethe wena ngithi please ungangenzi komisa ihoho. Athi andiyazi ukuthi bakusaba wena. Soze basonde belapha le bottle. And it's true. We'll enjoy our whiskey and sihlukane kumnandi. He will joke. So ngiyacela ke, let us not mourn. Let us celebrate the life of a giant. And let us sing revolutionary songs. Singathi izitrata zegolide when there are potholes. I remember him, the last part of his stories for those who have interacted with him. Makaze se Angola uthi there was one comrade, ngikhohle igama lakhe, I know the comrade. Aphume enkampini ayozishayela into zakhe ngaphandle makabuya ugaxe ibhandolini yakhe ugaxe AK yakhe uyohlala phezu kweravini. Bekasithanda leso story. Uthi uzwa sebambiza because he was also commanding in that camp. I'm not sure whether kuseKibashe or which camp is that. Athi uyezwa nje. Komisa hoza nangu ufuna ucommit suicide comrade la. Makafika azidakelwe ingwenya lapha yana. Iyaleng in the ravine, you know, izowela lapha phansi. Makaqhama uthi wenzani comrade lapha? Athi awu forced to send Nkosi. That was the fighting spirit of that soldier too. To say, no, angilapha phansi. Uforced usenguzi. Lala umakama ngithi lala kahle mkhonto. Lala kahle qhawe. Usivulele indlela phambili. Ngiyabonga mphathi wohlelo.
Siyabonga Commander Duma. Amandla. Yeah, comrades. Commander Dibuile, President Dibuile. Without any waste of time, re tlo kopa batlang re tsa bontate ba itse Kenya Khosatu, bara Khosatu they are not here. Re tlo ba thola akere ba ba Kenya au sekele. But comrades, one of the things that they were saying ka comrade time, unarata school. And maybe comrade Lulu, how did it go hantle ntlotsena tsa, you know, we used to have a protect, remember? Those who are in the education fraternity, they would know. That gave birth to Abukanya College and other things. But there are so many stories that we can tell. Comrade Tum, itemani bamba ni in November, but say Charlie Letineval, or September. The second comrade Tammy, the Bahopotel, Bonalbo comrade Opa, Monading Haba Yeza, Runava in the sense recadid. Impaya ona matat. Yeah, comrades, there are so many stories that we have to tell and to write and to document. Comrade Thomas, but I would that we were doing it. But I expose about it because they said we are close to comrade time. These are the stories, but comrade Tumani must tell stories about. No, not like you do. You must know that. But comrades, education. It's very important. It was important to comrade time. Hence the comrades, how can check out the cream of leadership, those, especially the young lions, the detachment of the young lions, nearly ex-members of Kosas Babamata. And then search for the Kosas and themselves. Okay, bana bes aketse bese tla kwa fa di voice ke khosa.
Long live the spirit of Comrade Mali, long live.
Long live.
Comrade Director, first and foremost, as COSATU would like to apologize for addressing the memorial service physically or through a video camera. I must say, we would have loved to be with everyone in the venue, but due to competing organizational activities as well as the limitation and the lean leadership in the province, we are delivering the memorial service through a video. To the family of Comrade Mali, the leadership of the Alliance present here today, the leadership of MKVA and the Veterans League, Situkuni, Agwehlanga, Elinga Eshigo, Ikawe, Silisshile. In our view, Comrade Mali is known across the revolutionary forces as a disciplined cadre who laid his love for the liberation of this country. He was a rare breed of MK soldier who understood the theory of the revolution. He dedicated his life to the people of this country. He loved the ANC and died with his boots on. As a disciplined cadre, par excellence, he served in the ANC Provincial Disciplinary Committee. Comrade Mali was a worker in his own right. We remember him as the HOD of the Department of Education, and he worked at the Department of Infrastructure Development. Some of us met Comrade Mali at that department, the Department of Infrastructure Development, in many platforms and in many committees. We shared with him the frustration of workers, and in return, Comrade Mali will take us through a revolutionary theory, a theory of the working class and how the leadership should behave when dispensing their responsibility as the leadership of the movement as well as the leadership of a trade union organization. Comrade Mali was never shy of raising issues which are averse to the progress of the movement and the alliance, and in particular the African National Congress.
No, comrade to the comrade. They were comrade. After we load shedding came, but comrade, thanks a lot. Comrade, at this point in time, the family, we've listened to the comrades who shared the battles with Comrade Mali, who's state leader in Angola, who were working within the mass democratic movement structures. Now we call upon the movement. You know, protocol movement, if the ANC speaks, can I get to it? I can have your part. Remember, I can now get ANC repeated. How shall I object that? Comrade. Comrade. No, Comrade, I'm the program director. Comrade Mbulelo. That's one to Tamasola. But who put up any orders. But we comply and complain after. So, Comrade Mbulelo, please come and say what we miss a comrade no pala PS. Because I've not got what I kept saying PS Abua since the Comrade Mbulelo is one of the senior members of Mkonto Wesizwe. He's one of the comrades, many comrades defeated in Angola. That's why it's so easy to say Commander Ngakoluma. Then after Comrade Mbulelo, we'll go straight to Nopala Jegede. Please, comrades, because of the light.
Manda. Mata. I did what soldiers of Mkhonto don't do. We were taught disciplined, but I felt it would be a miss of me and a betrayal to what Commissar Busobenyoka stood for if I don't say anything. I would never live with my conscience. I don't know Mali from point of view of the theoretical treatise and many things that have been said about him. I've lived with him in the best of times and in the worst of times. So I asked of your indulgence. I'm not ill-disciplined. Secondly, you told me that I should say something. And I felt you owed me, not me owing you. When I came in here, I came here to listen. And you said to me, oh, you must speak, so I'm honoring you. Now, having said that, Provincial Secretary and all leadership in its diversity, all protocol observed. Commanders and commissars of our glorious arm and Mkhonto, I stand here humbled by a life so humble yet so great. One author once said, there's nothing as great as being humble in your greatness. And that's what this man, this commissar represents in the history of Mkhonto. I'm talking from 1961 until we are banned. This man was the epitome of what humility means. And humility means, in the context of MK, respect for our people, discipline, making sure that the African nation, we are not mercenaries. We are people soldiers. Therefore, ours, first and foremost, that he taught us, is to make sure that we are soldiers, we are politicians with arms in hand. Those who have made us to look like clowns on television and do things that are linked to the culture of Mkhonto have got nothing to do with the history of this country. Abazogcoka ama-uniform badubule phezulu balimaza abantu, they don't represent this man. I think it's important to say that. And I say it because the impression created that has made and destroyed a legacy from 1961 to 1990. It's as if for these men and women who go to funerals drunk and shoot upstairs. That's the presentation of a great legacy of Vusi Lemini, a great legacy of Solomon Mahlangu, a great legacy of Chris Hani, a great legacy of Oliver Tambo. That's represented by people who wear uniform as a pet store and represent this man. I cannot be quiet about that. With due respect, Provincial Secretary, I have to say it. I have to say it because all of us are in pain, we're hurting. It cannot be that in 27 years, a glorious movement that's over 100, the biggest, the oldest ever in the world, in 27 years, it gets less than 50% of votes in this country. It cannot be. Something is definitely drastically wrong. And we must look ourselves in the mirror and say, who is killing this movement? It cannot be a man like that. In fact, they wanted to kill him, spiritually and otherwise, and he said, no, not in his lifetime. Because he refused to be a member of the African National Congress. Because he refused to take money as preceding the lives of our people. He refused to be corrupt. He refused to be factional. He refused to do all the alien things that we do today. And that is why our people are angry with us. The time must come now to stop and go back to what he taught us. Yeah. Not tomorrow, Chief. Yeah. And not with platitudes and speeches. We must go out of this tent today saying, what's the program of action to take Midval away from blue and white to black and gold? We must have a program of action of how we're going to clean ourselves of thugs and thieves who have stolen the glorious movement and took it away from the people of our country. We must make ourselves a program of action that says, How do we renew? What do we mean by renewal? Renewal must not be page members in the lower rank. Even those who are rotting up there must go down. Anyway, there's a saying that a fish rots from the top, from the head. If that head, if investigation tell us is rotting, I was here, in the Congress, Oliver Tambo, the Congress, Kamali. I felt I should say that. We're about renewal, we're about unity. That renewal must renew and make this movement go back to its glories. This movement represents the best interests of our people, not the worst interests of our people. And that's what it taught us. When I met him 31 years ago, he was with De Guerra. I taught him revolutionary politics of Mkhonto Wesizwe in the camp called Kibashi in Luanda, in Angola. No, I started with him and De Guerra in the group, and Duma in Vienna camp. After Vienna camp, I taught them in other camps as well. I've worked with him in the bushes of Angola fighting UNITA. So he's no theoretical man. No speeches will make him happy. What will make him happy and emulate him properly is to revolutionize the African National Congress. Amandla!
Sabanga, Commander. I think Commander of the line of march. Who quiet? No pala Comrade Jacob Kawe. Please address us.
Good.